In the late 1600s, the Hudson River Valley, located about 30 miles north of New York City, was heavily influenced by its Dutch culture and heritage. Largely a mill community and then later a manufacturing center, communities such as Tarrytown and North Tarrytown began to thrive, largely due to their proximity to the river. In 1672, Frederick Phillips established himself as the first lord in the area now recognized as Westchester County, New York. Comprising over 52,000 acres, a royal charter allowed Phillips to create the Manor of Phillipsburg. Due to his enormous wealth and pious nature, Frederick Phillips designed and financed the Old Dutch Church in 1685, which was adjacent to a small community cemetery. Along with the Dutch architecture, the area was also highly influenced by Dutch customs, legends, and lore. Washington Irving was born in Manhattan on April 3, 1783, and he was named after America's first president, George Washington. In 1798, an outbreak of yellow fever prompted his family to send him to stay with friends in Tarrytown, where he became familiar with the Dutch legends and stories that would influence his writing. Moving to Europe in 1815, Irving dabbled in the practice of law and as a writer until the age of 35, at which time he decided to earn his living as a writer. In 1820, Irving published The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon, Gent, which included the short story of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. The sketchbook by Irving became the first piece of American writing to gain European recognition and catapulted Irving into the status of a father of American literature. An interesting point about the legend of Sleepy Hollow is that the story itself was a work of fiction. However, its characters and settings depicted actual people that Irving knew and actual places of which Irving was familiar. The village in the story was called Sleepy Hollow. However, in 1820, a town of that name did not exist. Rather, Irving was depicting the hollows around the Tarrytown area for the Sleepy Hollow setting. In depicting the fictional Sleepy Hollow, Irving wrote, "Not far from this village, perhaps about 2 miles, there is a little valley, or rather a lap of land, among the high hills, which is one of the quietest places in the whole world. A small brook glides through it with just a murmur enough to lull one to repose, and the occasional whistle of a quail or tapping of a woodpecker is almost the only sound that ever breaks in upon this uniform tranquility." Additionally, in the legend, the character of Ichabod Crane was based on the mannerisms of Irving's actual friend, Jesse Merwin, while the name Ichabod Crane came from an actual soldier that Irving knew named Ichabod Bennet Crane. Other characters in the story were also names of actual people that Irving knew from the Tarrytown area. Additionally, the tale of the Headless Horseman itself was, in fact, inspired by an actual Hessian soldier who was decapitated by a cannonball in 1776. The Headless Horseman's gravesite was, according to the story, adjacent to the real Old Dutch Church. Throughout his life, Irving maintained a close connection with the North Tarrytown area. In 1835, he purchased a house in Tarrytown that he named Sunnyside, and the legend of Sleepy Hollow was so successful that the area of North Tarrytown became synonymous with Sleepy Hollow. In fact, in 1849, Irving petitioned that the Tarrytown Cemetery be renamed to the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, and in 1865, that wish was granted. Today, the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery is the resting place of numerous well-known people such as William Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and Washington Irving himself. In 1996, the town of North Tarrytown officially changed its name to Sleepy Hollow, New York, and it is a town that fully embraces the legend and the characters created by Washington Irving. Everything from street signs, the high school mascot, the stained glass over City Hall, and even the fire engines are emblazoned with images of the Headless Horseman and other images from Irving's stories. Historical markers have also been erected designating the official locations of the Horseman's Bridge, the Old Dutch Church, Phillipsburg Manor, and the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. With a region so steeped in history, legends, and lore, it is no surprise that Sleepy Hollow, New York is considered one of the most haunted locations in the United States. Many of the reported ghost stories and paranormal sightings seem to occur in and around the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which is approximately 90 acres in size and has over 45,000 people interred within its boundaries. According to the legend of Sleepy Hollow, The Headless Horseman, which is a ghost of a Hessian soldier who lost his head during the American Revolution, roams the old church road, and he tethers his horse nightly among the graves in the graveyard where he believes his body is buried. In the legend, any traveler who would happen to encounter the horseman during the night must make it to and cross over the horseman's bridge, at which point the horseman's power ends. Although the original wooden bridge has long since rotted away, there is a replica located in the middle of the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. Many guests to the cemetery have reported hearing the sounds of horses' hooves through the cemetery at night. Another ghost story that is told throughout the region is that of the spirit of Major Andre, a compatriot of Benedict Arnold, who was hung for treason from a tree close to Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown. Major Andre's spirit is said to roam the area close to where he was hung, moaning and reciting a poem that he wrote on the day that he was killed. Another cemetery ghost story is that of the Bronze Lady. The sculpture of the shrouded, seated lady was designed to gaze eternally toward the mausoleum of Civil War General Samuel Thomas. It was commissioned in 1903 by Thomas's widow. Local legend says that at night, the Bronze Lady will wander the cemetery grounds and terrify anyone who dares to enter after dark. Others say that if you approach her, you can hear her weeping, and if you insult or hit her, then you will be cursed for life. A final ghost story that comes from Sleepy Hollow is that of Washington Irving himself. Since his death in 1859, guests have reported seeing the spirit of the author in the bedroom and in the study of his Sunnyside estate, and the spirits of his nieces have been said to clean up the house, which is now a museum, after the staff leaves for the night. The year 2020 marks the 200th anniversary of the publishing of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, a story which introduced the world to the American ghost story and to the legends and lore of the Hudson River Valley. It is estimated that over 100,000 tourists visit Sleepy Hollow from September through November, and they all try to determine for themselves if Sleepy Hollow, New York, really is haunted.